And it's time for the newspaper review. And for newspaper headlines, we'll be starting here in Nigeria with the front cover of this day. Now, this day leads with a call from Senator Ali Ndume of Borno South to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, advising him to employ the services of military contractors in order to wipe out Boko Haram terrorists. This is as the security situation in northeast and northwest Nigeria continues to worsen. The senator made these comments while in Benin Republic for an ECOWAS Parliament engagement, where he also suggested that able-bodied Nigerian youths could be drafted to raise the number of military in the country to at least 1 million. Moving on to the New Telegraph, and the New Telegraph focuses its front page on corruption. The Independent Corrupt Practice and Other Related Offences Commission says that it has recovered more than 13 billion naira of public funds that were diverted in September 2024 alone. The ICPC made the revelation on Wednesday after it launched its 2024 to 2028 Strategic Action Plan, focused on how it will address emerging challenges and adapt to evolving threats and more effectively carry out its mandate. Now, The Guardian's front page has a caricature of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has left Abuja for the United Kingdom as he begins a 2-week holiday. Now, this is as ministers are vying to keep their position amid news of a looming cabinet reshuffle, as well as politicians lobbying to join the Federal Executive Council. Now, speaking of reshuffles, the news of a looming reshuffle broke while many ministers were at the UN General Assembly. Now, Adesua Giwasage had an exclusive interview with Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Bosun Tijani, who was asked by Adesua what he felt. Did he feel safe? Did he feel insecure? And he did say that he wasn't among the ministers who flew back to Nigeria early, that he would be arriving to Nigeria as initially planned. And he said that if he were to lose his job, he and his team are proud of the work that they have done thus far. You can take a look at that full interview on our YouTube page. But moving on, Bayo Onanuga says that he has clarified that the president will be using the time in the United Kingdom as a working holiday and as a retreat to reflect on Nigeria's economic reforms. Just in case somebody thought that he was going to, lunch and dunch in the UK, it is, as he says, a working holiday for him. Well, there is that.
The presidential resort that was built in Cross
Really?
by Donald Duke.
Right here in Nigeria, are you sure?
We had it.
No.
Donald Duke built it.
So many lovely places.
Donald Duke built it. I think Olusegun Obasanjo went there once or twice, and everywhere well made. And guess what? It was supposed to be top of the hill and all of that.
I'll come back to you all. Let's continue on with our newspaper review. And the Daily Trust dedicates the lion's share of its front page to the boat capsizing in Niger State, where at least 16 people have been buried. Now, some 60 people are feared dead, and more than 150 people were either rescued or are still missing. Now, the boat in question was carrying 300 passengers when it capsized on Tuesday night. Many other passengers were headed to the village of Bajibo to mark Maulid, which is the celebration of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him's birth. It's also not clear what had caused the boat to capsize, but incidents of boats overturning on the River Niger, which is the third longest river in Africa, are common, unfortunately, especially during the rainy season when water levels are high. Some of the boats on the river are often rickety and overloaded with passengers. Debris also is an issue. Tree branches on the water can also cause challenges for these boats. Let's move on to the Vanguard, which takes a look at the efforts from the lawyers and civil society organizations to secure the release of the hashtag End Bad Governance protesters. 2,412 of them are being held across 10 states here in Nigeria. And finally, The Punch looks at local government autonomy. Its headline says that governors are in a fresh move to delay implementation, while local governments are planning to get their October allocation from the Federation account. Let's take a look at some other papers from the African continent. And the Daily Trust in Kenya leads with a medical crisis in the country as a new healthcare plan, the SHF, is yet to take off due to glitches. That delay means that doctors cannot treat patients before getting clearance from the Social Healthcare Authority, which is only exacerbating this healthcare problem in the country. And then the Citizen of South Africa takes a look at the groundbreaking ruling on how sexual assault is prosecuted. Those accused can no longer longer say, I thought he or she said yes or consented, as the law will now shift to an objective test for consent. And then the Daily Mail in the UK, its front page reports that UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has paid some £6,000 to pay for the gifts that he and his wife received from a party donor, which include clothing and tickets to see Taylor Swift. The donor in question, Lord Ali, has also been probed by the House of Lords watchdog. So, Ayo, as you've also been talking about accountability, here's another example of that. And then staying in the UK, the Telegraph reports that UK forces, especially the Royal Air Force, are not up to defending Israel. That's according to defence experts, including Sir Ben Wallace. The former Defence Secretary says the UK's Type 45 anti-missile destroyers would struggle to respond, while sources claim that the Royal Navy's carrier strike groups did not have enough sailors to operate effectively in a war zone.
That used to be the Great Britain before, right?
That's what they said.
It just shows you that nothing lasts forever. And that's why America should watch it with this support of Israel. At some point, UK was one of the great naval powers of this world. You remember Admiral Nelson.
Do you know what? It could be politics too. This is a new government. They've been talking about defence cutting and all of that, spending on defence cutting. You don't believe so? You don't think it's politics?
UK does not have that capacity again. Yeah, it's a smaller country these days. It's not, the sun doesn't set any longer on the British Empire. So they don't have those resources again. And that's why they should be careful, because it's going to drown them and cost them a lot. Moving back to accountability, I also want to tie this story to what happened in Singapore. As the government minister, and the ministers are well paid in Singapore, over $700,000 a year, too was found to collect some favors. He too is been charged to court for corruption. The question is what happens in Nigeria. No. Ordinary Taylor Swift ticket is no big deal in this country. But you can see Keir Starmer. It's a big deal. Right. And that's why he must be able to pay to account. What do we have in Nigeria? We have lawmakers that are now fighting for their speaker and saying you should have given him a bigger title when people are poor and suffering. I just quickly want to treat one matter. We must have a concise investigation and inquest into the boat debacle. Right. Why were wooden boats going out at that time of the night? Was there life jacket? What can the government do to be able to ameliorate those challenges?
Sure. Well, on that one, they maybe take a playbook or a leaf from the Lagos State Waterways Authorities. In the last few years, they've been able to minimize incidents of, both capsizing, and they've just had quite a good oversight. So just talk about governments that are working and being able to do it properly and saying that thing. Because I know in Lagos State there's a curfew as to what time you take boats. You can't travel. So kudos to the people. Dam Emmanuel is the GM there, doing a great work. Now, moving on to corruption, because 13 billion naira has been recovered by ICPC in the last few months. I don't think the announcement of how much money has been recovered is a challenge for many Nigerians. It's what is being done. Because what we've seen a number of times, unfortunately, is that the loot is relooted. And if we're looking at, so maybe beyond making announcements that, we're able to recover X amount of money, let it be a bit more detailed and tell us, and after this will happen, it would engender trust of the people so that we just don't think we're announcing all these big amounts and nothing is being done. And then even though we said it jokingly about, there's, not jokingly, but there's the Ibom Icon Resort, there's the one in but it's very true. I believe that we're talking about tourism, let's attract and invest in I'm looking forward to seeing our leaders go to spend. Camp David in the United States of America is a place for reflection and relaxation. I can't begrudge the president where he wants to spend his holiday, but sometimes it's good optics.
He should spend it here.
First time out, when the Labour Party had their conference in Birmingham, what was supposed to be a parade victory for Keir Starmer, turned out to be a big issue about how he has been using that position to collect freebies since he assumed office in July. Suits, spectacles, office space from Lord Wahid Ali, who also showed up at that Labour conference. And then his wife collecting free clothing to the tune of over £5,000. Total amount of freebies over £100,000. Now, Keir Starmer opposed it, turned away all the criticism, but now he has given back £6,000. The big issue here is that the British, they still have a system where when you are in public office, you cannot be using it to collect freebies all over the place. Maybe there is a lesson that Nigerian leaders can learn from that. And maybe, we should also know the fact that the man who gave the gifts, Lord Wahid Ali, is also now being investigated and interrogated by the House of Lords. Second issue, President Tinubu, we're told by Mr. Ononuga, has gone on a working vacation using part of his annual leave.
Yes.
Now, the Guardian newspaper put a slant on it. This is because people were putting pressure on him, lobbying for appointments. When Mr. Ononuga released that press statement and said, oh, on or by October 1, right. I said that announcement was not necessary. Yeah. Under Section 5, the president can appoint, hire, and fire whoever he likes. He just needs to come to council and say, you are no longer here. He doesn't need to give them pre-knowledge. Now, that statement we made at that time has been confirmed. But I hope not that the president is going on vacation because of that pressure. October 1 has passed. We have not seen the list of new ministerial appointments. The other issue about working vacation, I think, takes care of Section 145. If he says he's going on a working vacation, then he's not under pressure to hand over to the vice president.
Right.
It will mean that he will be delegating authority from London or wherever he's having that vacation in the United Kingdom. So for the next 2 weeks, London is our seat of power.
Also London.
Thank you very much.